Did someone say my name?
I said God.
Oh, God.
You self-centered. Somebody says God and you think it's Scott.
This week, positively godless.
What?
Scott likes to call it our series. We are finally joined by Christopher Maute, and we have lots and lots of fun.
In my pants.
Oh, my God. How come I haven't played drums on the episode yet?
Because you suck.
Yeah, bull crap.
Well, I've heard you play drums.
You've never heard me play drums.
You don't
I have-
have to.
Oh, yeah. One recording.
Mm-hmm. I'd rather hear you sing and play guitar. That's the lesser of evils.
That's true. It's
I've
all
heard
evil.
him sing, so I don't know that you would want to hear that.
Didn't I put you in the
Crazy!
Didn't I put you in the email? I ignored that.
Anybody who has ever watched this show,
Positively godless!
Crazy! Over, under, feeling crazy! It was no wonder, you're just making me crazy!
been your mom.
No, she is not my mom.
At least we actually called to talk to him.
I'm sure that he was grateful that I even thought about him on his birthday.
I'm
I
sure
don't
he was
really
grateful I
know
thought about
if
him at all.
yours classifies as calling to talk to me.
How could you see me doing like this? Going, oh, thank goodness Muffins is voicemail.
Happy birthday, bitch. Love you.
You sound like
Muffin. No,
girl.
I'm your muffin. You can't call him muffin. You should.
Me Muffin.
No, he doesn't. He better not.
He does.
No, he does not call. He calls you muffin because he's mocking you.
That's rude.
Yeah.
Why I could say happy birthday to his ass?
I have no idea.
You know?
I know. Bye.
Bye.
Well, hello,
Fucking asshole.
everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Positively Godless.
Well played.
Scott just can't leave well enough alone. He's always got to be whining about something.
I wasn't whining about anything.
You can't call him Muffin. I'm your Muffin.
I'm Scott Lawrence, joined by Tyler Sulander and just Jerry. Got part of it right.
So proud.
Well, good production meeting.
What's their production meeting about?
Nothing.
We're going to do recap, and then we're going to call in our guest, right?
That's true, yes.
And then we're just going to do what we normally do and just kind of let it flow.
Let
Yeah.
it flow, let it flow.
Where'd he go?
Who knows?
Oh,
How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing well, Tyler. How were you yesterday? Well, Wednesday was your birthday. So did you have a good
Yes.
birthday?
It was a
That's what-
birthday.
Yeah, I was trying to be the first to say happy birthday to you, but I guess I wasn't.
So very close.
So
By
there you go.
by less than an hour, you missed it.
Yeah. All right, next year I'm going to do it way earlier. I'll do it way earlier. Hi, Scott.
Hi. Next year, I'll wait till, like at 12:01.
On the 18th.
No. Because that's something I actually would do.
Yeah.
Because on the 13th, I was like driving home frantically going, oh my God, it's his birthday today. I forgot his birthday. And then I checked Facebook like a good friend and got confirmed that it wasn't his birthday.
Thank you, Facebook.
Yep.
Well, my brother, my baby brother, he puts his birthday is in April, and he put that his birthday is in October on Facebook. So a random day in October, everybody just writes happy birthday to him on Facebook. It's so funny.
I thought about doing that, you know, just like on some regular day, like on like June. Thank everyone for the birthday wishes. Never mind. I'll stop talking.
Yeah.
Where's Chris?
That's
No, we got to do our. Can we do comments with Chris?
Yeah, we have 3 comments.
All right, bust a move.
We have like 80 views, and I think 79 of those were you, Scott.
I watched it one time.
How come we had so little views this time?
People are probably sick of us.
Can't please them all.
That's true. That's every girl I've dated and married.
Oh.
D. Smith says 2 friends and Scott. Now that was funny. Yep, D, that's why I said it. Because it was funny. I couldn't pass up that opportunity.
Doesn't she have a reply?
Well, no, you replied. Is there a way to block people from commenting on YouTube videos? Never mind, I'll ask Brett Keane. Crap, he has us blocked. Dang it.
You can say, damn it.
No. So why does he have us blocked? What did you do to him, Scott?
I didn't do anything to him. I was doing JD Kane's show post debate, and he sends me a message on Skype that to watch this video. And I'm like, I can't right now. I'm in the middle of TST. He's like, don't bother even coming to my rooms anymore. If that's how you're going to be. He had a big fit. And
Yeah,
I found out he's a fraud. So.
Oh, he's the one that was going to help, but was trying to help us with the Google Plus. With
Yeah.
The
But he's kind of a
Big
fake and a fraud. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that is some big claim, Scott.
Fake and a fraud.
Yeah.
Are
Pretty
you
much.
gonna elaborate, or is that for another show?
I don't know if it's necessary for me to elaborate. I mean, everybody on the internet knows who he is, knows what he's about.
Everybody on the internet, huh?
Okay, nobody here in this room knows who he is, but Christopher Maute knows who he is. He's an e-beggar, is what he does. He's got an Amazon wish list. He's got a Patreon. He's got a PayPal. He doesn't work. He doesn't have a job. He sits around and makes videos complaining and bitching about the drunken peasants and TJ from the Amazing Atheist show, and then asks for people to buy him extravagant computers and mics for him to do his videos. He's just an e-beggar. It's just he doesn't do his homework. He thinks he knows everything, and he clearly doesn't. So that's Brett Keane. We'll talk about him later, though, because this is part 2 of our series. Damn it, Tommy.
Ryan Thomas says, "Great show, guys."
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank
I'm
you.
a little confused about Headcase's comment. Defriend me on air. You get a thumbs down for that, mister. Sobriety is highly overrated. What did I miss?
Oh, I think he was talking about when Tyler asked if I was cracking a beer when I cracked a Diet Coke. He's like, is that a beer? I'm like, I wish. I think that's what it was.
I understand what the sobriety is highly overrated. But Scott, what did you say to Headcase that said defriend me, made him say defriend me on air? You get a thumbs down.
Tyler did, actually, because Tyler was reading comments about me getting a haircut, and Headcase came to my defense and said, don't listen to Tyler. You want to grow your hair, grow it. If you want to cut it, cut it. And Tyler says, we're no longer friends, Headcase.
It was a sad
okay.
day.
Remember,
But it
I think
happened.
it was just a joke, though, what Tyler said.
It was absolutely a joke, and I know that Headcase knows that. But it's fun to have a little back and forth banter. So
Yes.
Okay.
That's it for comments.
All right, so we're ready to bring on our guest.
I probably should have checked to make sure that this was actually recording video before we did anything.
I just accepted your jam.
Okay,
No.
Got
And
it.
now I'm taunting you. Taunt. 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 And 3 times a taunt.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. We are here with our special guest, Christopher Maute. He was supposed to be on last week or 2 weeks ago, but we had some technical issues that,
Well,
oddly enough, were not my fault.
hang on. To
Oh,
be
yeah.
fair, he was on 2 weeks ago, and
Let's
the
take
technical
this up.
difficulties were your fault. We just didn't publish that episode because we came to the decision that we weren't going to publish an audio-only episode. So he was on 2 weeks ago.
Thank you.
Weren't able to get back last week, which is fine. Scheduling conflicts, totally understand. So, Chris, it's great to have you back now
Yes.
for this week. So thank you for joining us.
Yes, and just a real
pleasure.
quick technical observation, too. So do not upgrade to Windows 10 because we found out that it actually goes to Mac users as well and affects what they needed to do.
No, it just affects Windows 10. See, the thing
It was a
about
joke.
Apple computers is Apple.
You realize that the
Computers.
three Apple computers that were on the call that week were working fine. It
But
was
didn't record. Anyway, we're in part 2 of our series.
To a neutral corner, boys.
Hey, Chris,
Yes.
when I say series, do you know what I mean?
When you say series?
Yeah, like part 2 of our series.
Yeah.
Okay, can you please explain to them?
Well, how else would you phrase it? A
Yeah, like-
series. Oh, okay. Well, a series. Maybe the fact that it's 2 doesn't make it a series, technically, but I would consider it as such. Rhetorically speaking, a series is a topic that is continued over a period of time.
Thank you.
Okay, but how does that relate in the
In
course?
church.
Yeah,
The
in,
church?
say,
All the
like-
time.
Not you, Scott.
Damn it.
Quiet.
In the course of church,
Yeah.
you just changed channels on me. What does this
Yeah,
have?
exactly. Exactly. You
Because
just
he
proved
kept
the point.
saying last week, this is part 1 of our series, and then next
Uh-huh.
week on part 2 of our series.
Yeah,
and
do you
he's trying
get
to
it? It's
tell
so
us
funny
that-
because that's what they say in church all the time. It's a church thing, so I'm taking a jab at church.
It is.
Freaking
No.
Yes,
Well,
yes. When Tommy Hall, where
All
are
right.
you? Man?
I was a raised Catholic till I reached the age of reason. In Mass, they never talked about series.
Yeah, and Catholicism, no. But when you get to the Baptist evangelical side, they have this one topic it's like a 4-part series. Like this Sunday, we're going to series 1 of this
Here's
topic.
part 2 of 4 of a series about Christ rising from the dead.
Yeah.
No, that sounds weird.
Tommy
How
Hall,
many-
get on this.
How many denominations of Christianity did you attend, Scott?
I've been to a couple Assembly of God churches.
What denomination is that?
It's non-denominational.
Okay, so
You're shooting yourself in the penis right now. What is going on?
Tommy
series-
Hall,
A series makes sense. Stop referring to Tommy Hall.
yeah.
I need him to bail me out here.
in all
No, okay.
fairness,
Yeah.
we've never claimed that we were experts on anything.
And this just
So Scott
reinforces
is
it
just
100%.
proving his non-expertise on
Madonna me.
Christianity.
Good point. Anyway, last week we talked about bad atheists.
Yes.
Chris, did you watch the episode?
I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing. I saw bits and pieces.
Okay.
That's right. It wasn't all that great.
I was a little chapped that the splendiferous episode that I helped contribute to was not the one that was broadcast. But, I mean, no offense. Let bygones be bygones. But, no, I did watch a bit of it. I didn't get to watch the whole thing. So...
Do you want to kind of maybe talk a little bit about, since you kind of your opinions on bad atheists and maybe what you did catch?
Well, I do have specific. I have more opinions about what a bad atheist is than I do about what a bad Christian is. That does not mean that I don't have a ton of things to say about the topic. Pardon my language. A lot of things to say about bad Christians, but because I self-label as atheist, I think that my ego gets a little bit more bruised when I see somebody engaging in atheism in a way that I think they could do better at, right? If you're a Christian and you're doing Christianity bad, I already think you're wrong from the get-go. So what version of wrong you are, meh. You know, like I still have opinions about what are better or worse versions of Christianity to be. But when you self-label the way that I do, which is as an atheist, and you put forth the claim that you lack a belief, therefore you don't have to justify it, and the burden of proof is on the other person, that gets my heckles up. When you have really bad arguments and demand scientific evidence for a God, or you overuse science, that bothers me. You know, as somebody who promotes science communication and scientific literacy among the general public, I think that it's lacking most severely in the atheist population, where people are like, science proves God doesn't exist. It's like, I do not think that you understand what that word means. So, you know, I have more opinions about what makes a bad atheist than what makes a bad Christian. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. You know, like I said when you were initially on the episode that unfortunately didn't air, you know, we're just
The
three
episode
guys.
we dare not speak the name of.
Oh, no, we will. We may use it as a lost episode. Who knows? But, you know, we're just three guys who get together and chat.
Yes.
That's it. Whether if we have a topic, if we have a guest, or we hear something from a past guest that makes us go, "What did you say?" You know, then we kind of talk about that. We're not philosophers. We're three idiots. At least I am.
I'm gonna say, speak for yourself.
Well, I was going to say I don't even agree with that. And when I was auditioning for your job 2 weeks ago, which I did a fantastic job of, that nobody will get to hear, I brought up
callback.
I brought up the point that I enjoy the fact that you guys approach it the way that you do. I like the positively godless component, and I rode your ass a little bit about the positive component and the way that you comport yourself in certain exchanges. You know, and I think that's fair game. I'm allowed to challenge you on it because you can challenge me on things that I do. I've called people stupid. I've talked in a condescending manner to other atheists, which does not at all achieve the goals that I have for myself. The goals and values that I commit to, there are some days where I'm better able to commit to them than others. And unfortunately, when I have those crappy days and I'm not able to commit to them, I apologize. And in the same way that you guys did.
Right.
On the specific thing that I was busting your chops about. But what was the point that I was going to make? I forgot. I lost my train of thought going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, and you know, I touched on positively godless last week. The same way that
Now I remember. All right, stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking, previous third member that I will replace. It's not that you guys are stupid at all. Without realizing it, you guys have set a pattern. The fact that you have had as many episodes as you've had, and the fact that you've had the amount of guests that you've had, you've actually set a bit of a routine where, from the outside, it looks like, and here's one of the reasons why I complimented you guys in private messages, and we had the private hangout about things and stuff. You tacitly have an assumption of civil discourse, good conversation, religious and cultural plurality, which to me is a cornerstone of humanism, and an open invitation for the expression of ideas. And so I refuse to accept that we're just three guys kind of riffing on things and stuff. I don't accept that. I think that you're three people that have maybe an unwritten or unexplained or unspoken rule of those values, and that's what I dig about the show.
all right, fair enough.
Yeah, I would agree with most all of that except for the unspoken portion. I think that ever since episode 1, we've been very vocal about what it is that we believe, while at the same time being open to other ideas, and the fact that we're not here just to merely trash other ideas that are out here. We may not agree with them in any way. We might flat out just completely disagree because, we think something is ludicrous. But we try to do that in a positive light. I think that has been one of the cornerstones ever since day one with our show. And like I kind of went into in that lost episode was the fact that we haven't always upheld that. We've had our episodes where we kind of go off the deep end and get a little heated, and maybe some people say things that they wish they didn't say. But for the most part, that's what we try to uphold. And especially in a lot of our early episodes after our early guests, when we were being ripped apart by the atheist community, we had Christian guests on for, what was it, Scott? Our first 2 or first 3 were Christian guests?
First 3 were.
So, and in each one of those, more and more, we got torn apart by the atheist community than the Christian community. And we came back every time and said, hey, this is what we're here for, is to have this discussion. We don't agree with the views of Paul Ridgeway or with G-Man or with any of those guys. But, so that's the only thing that I guess I would have to say is I think that we've been very open with that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think I'm one that kind of takes it a little bit, at least I did take it a little bit more personally, especially when you're trying to have a big guest on. And that was probably my mistake from the beginning is we're just starting out. Let's have a big guest on. Let's get Dillahunty on here because he was a big hero of mine. But then he reviewed our show and he just peed all over it and just ripped us apart. And there was no constructive criticism at all. And I have not talked about this publicly ever, but I don't care because I can now, because why not? But there was no constructive criticism. And this is weeks after he said on his show saying, we want more atheist shows. We want people to get our message out there. And I was really excited to talk to him about that because we were relatively new and I look up to the guy. So I guess I was a little butthurt on that.
Did you fill out your form?
I have to. I have stacks. But yeah, I was really bummed by that. There was no constructive criticism. He basically called us a bunch of buffoons. And I think Jerry was the one that says, well, screw him. We don't want him on.
Well, I called him something else first, but then I said, screw him. We don't want him on.
Yeah. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but.
Yeah.
And Matt Dillahunty is, he's very good at what he does. But he is not, you guys asked my opinion in the Lost episode. I love that it's called that because it reminds me of I Love Lucy for some reason, the Lost episodes. Don't ask, I'm showing my age here. But you asked me about Dillahunty, and I pretty much admitted, he's good at what he does. He's a smart guy. He engages in philosophy. The fact that he was going to school to be a preacher informs the kind of atheism that he puts forth. But he's a little douchey.
Yeah.
Let's not deny that. But he's a human being. And
right.
He is not obligated to give you guys an audience as a guest on your show, and
right.
Maybe he has better things to do, but. The fact that he's gonna bust your chops about the kind of show that you have without providing any constructive criticism, considering that he thinks that there should be more shows, atheist shows, but maybe his definition of atheist shows isn't atheists welcoming Christians, right? So, I mean,
right.
His goals might not meet your goals, or your goals might not meet his goals, and the bottom line is you should pursue your goals.
Yeah. And that's fine. I mean, I'm over it. But if you could talk to him for us, I'd be. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm so joking. It was a joke.
I think at this point, even if he called us tomorrow and said, "I want to be on your show," I'd be like, no, screw you."
Don't be like that.
I wouldn't.
If he called
But-
tomorrow and asked to be on your show, I mean, definitely have him on your show. Let him lambast you on your show.
Yeah.
You know?
And I can lambast him back because I mean, it's the same thing I did with you, I think, in a sense, during the Lost episode, because of the title Positively Godless. And I kind of explained how I feel it's really universal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when the people think positively godless, hey, positive people. Not necessarily. I'm positive that there's no God.
And the reason, and also and I liked the play on words. You know, you're positive in the sense that you accept Christians on your show. You're positive as in a conviction of your position. I like that play on words, and also I was able to relate. And I explained having had a show of my own. Yeah, I wasn't atheist enough for the atheists, and I was too atheist for the Christians, and so I got it from all ends.
You know, and here's something I noticed, and it's really bugging me right now. And I wish I would have talked to Tyler and Jerry first. We've been on the show 1 year, coming up on the 21st of February when we aired our first episode.
Congratulations.
And this is who we get as a guest?
Wow.
I can bust your balls too.
Wow.
Oh, coming from the semi-musician.
But Tyler didn't make the insult. I did.
You can't even sing Katy Perry's Last Friday Night in the key that it's written in.
I can sing it in the key. I didn't have time to do the mixes and cut vocals, all that stuff. I played all the damn instruments on it.
I couldn't figure out the tab from online, and my diaper.
You would have been impressed with the bass part.
I doubt it.
All right. Anyway,
We'll go over those lyrics. Actually, let's cover that now. So last week, towards the end, what? I'm so excited. I get to talk to the guy.
And he's like,
We're not actually doing this.
I know we're not, but I want to bring it up so Chris is up to speed because he missed out last week. So I wanted to make him feel like he was actually a part of it. So I talked about how Weird Al has rewritten lyrics to popular songs.
Sure.
And I wondered, I wonder if Christian musicians ever rewrote lyrics to popular songs. So
that wasn't the topic of the conversation.
what was the topic of the conversation?
The conversation was, would there be a pop song
That would
or
be cool.
a pop artist
Yeah.
such as Katy Perry who sang about Christianity? Would she be as popular? And then you decided that we were going to take Last Friday Night and turn it into a quote-unquote Christian song about going to church and walk-ins.
And you like that idea, Chris? Oh, I'm sorry. So I rewrote the lyrics. It was pretty hilarious.
He did rewrite
No,
some pretty clever lyrics, and they do kind of fit with the tempo and the song, and I could see how it could work.
I could see how it could work as a parody, right? And that's why Weird Al.
Yeah.
I understand, and that's how Weird Al songs work. If Weird Al came out with those songs and people had no previous reference to what he was parodying, I don't think that they would necessarily have as much play.
Not in popular culture.
Even not in popular culture. And there's something weird about when you inject Christianity into music. It makes it bad. I have yet to hear good Christian music, except gospel music.
Right.
Gospel
Ian,
music is great, and
delicious.
I loved singing gospel music in the choir in school.
But I'm talking about popular. There was always a distinction. Gospel artists like who? Sam Cooke or Marvin Gaye initially, or even Aretha Franklin. When they made the switch to secular music, popular music, they were kind of made fun of by their religious friends because they were selling out. They were singing the music of the devil and this, that, and the other. But thank goodness that they did, because Aretha Franklin is delicious.
Yeah. I mean, the Staples sister,
Yeah, sure. Staple Sisters.
Anyway, moving right along. Let's kind of move on to the topic, I guess, at hand with
Bad Christians.
bad Christians. We got an email from a listener that frantically wrote in the subject line, "Please respond, guys."
Now.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. We were going to talk about that, weren't we? Because I had some opinions about that.
yeah, and we'll kind of get into other things too. So he wrote to us a really nice email and says, "I'm writing you in hopes that you'll help you to see the point of this life. I've watched your interview and debate with Matt Slick, episode 22 and 23, and this is how I've heard of you. My question for you all is this as follows. What if you're wrong about God? Try to see it from both sides of the coin. What if the Christians were wrong that there is no God, and that is your downside for being wrong?" So it's basically, I'm not going to read the whole email, but
No, and read the whole email because I forgot what it was that what my opinion was about.
because every time I read, then I sound like someone's going to jump in and go, "Today, Junior, we just die and then we go meet our maker, the end. If you are wrong about God's existence, then according to the Bible, you will be in a world of pain and suffering for eternity. Now ask yourself, is it worth it to be wrong about God? You really don't even need to change much because you're all good guys. The only thing you would change is your belief system. Remember, we are all here for a purpose and we'll die one day. Where are you going when you die? And remember, what if? Because somebody knows for certain, and there's no downside for being wrong if you believe, but there's a very big downside if you're wrong if you don't believe. Thanks, guys. Hopefully this helps you decide your fate. Please contact me if you'd like to talk or respond to this. My contact info listed below. That is from Raymond Pandochi, if I can say that right. So,
real quick,
Okay.
Jerry, because I know you want to jump in here, but this is something that we have already discussed at length on this show.
the eternal threat.
The eternal threat. We had an entire episode about it.
I was drunk.
So, yeah, you were. So, Jerry, I definitely want to let you go ahead and
And you remember it?
Nope.
Before I
It's
forget,
recorded.
before I forget what I'm gonna say, I think there's like three things that I wanted to say.
Okay.
First, any
Sasquatch.
pain and suffering that I could suffer in the afterlife could not be as bad as some of the things that I've experienced in this actual life. And I would rather take my chances, and because I don't believe in a God, I don't believe that there's going to be any type of afterlife, good or bad. So that's that. And dang it, I forgot the third one.
Well, I have a comment about this. I mean, essentially, the email is rephrasing the classic Pascal's wager.
Yep.
That's essentially what it's doing. You know, if you're wrong, then like there's the logic box. If there is a God and you deny it, then you're going to hell. If there is a God and you accept it, you're going to heaven. If there isn't a God and you don't believe in it, then no problem. Like it's like the way of kind of logically discerning these things. And my favorite answer to that is, well, what if you're wrong about Vishnu? What if you're wrong
Zeus
about
or Thor?
What if you're
Jinx.
wrong about Allah? What if you're wrong about the thousands of gods that have been proposed since mankind that have consequences in an afterlife? What if they're wrong about that?
Yeah.
And the bottom line is the logical load of taking on board the existence of all of these things absolutely breaks down your belief system to the point where it's like, okay, well, is it easier for me to have 1,000 different reasons to not take on board the 1,000 different gods, or to just unilaterally say, I based on the assets that you place on the gods that you're talking about have different justifications, right? And the most popular ones being Islam and Christianity. If you have a deistic God that doesn't have much of a justification load, then it's a little bit more slippery. But I'm reasonably certain, and I mean those words very literally, reasonably certain. I have justifications for a warranted belief that the God that you're talking about, doesn't exist. The Pascal's wager is essentially a childish form of morality where you should do what you're told to fear punishment and gain reward. And that's how 7 to 10-year-olds, if you look at Kohlberg's moral development model, 7 to 10-year-olds follow that model. Hopefully, when you become an adult, your morality is based on the moral compass that you've developed internally, and you do good things for the sake of doing good things. To listen to an authority, to avoid punishment and to gain reward, is one of the most childish, not childlike. Childlike wonder is fantastic. Childish tantrums should be abhorred as adults. And childish behavior. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wouldn't view him as in the category of our topic tonight of bad Christians. I think that he wrote that email in complete sincerity. He meant well. He wasn't malicious. It sure had a threatening undertone, but it had that hug with it too. Does that make sense?
I actually would say that it is an example of good Christianity.
Yeah.
He's doing what he was taught to do. When people say they're going to pray for me, I do not think that they're doing me a disservice. I think that they are giving me the height of compliment based on their worldview. To say that you're going to pray for me is actually a compliment, right? Now, for me, I kind of recast it as, I find it psychologically satisfying that somebody is thinking about me in such positive ways, and they're worried about me based on their risk assessment of life in the afterlife. I find that psychologically satisfying. And also, they're being consistent in doing what they were taught to do. I know a lot of atheists think differently, but I think that, to your point, Scott, he's actually being a good Christian by proselytizing. That's what he's doing. He's proselytizing.
Yeah, and with that being said, I kind of want to move on to.
Well, I just have one thing.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jerry. Go ahead.
Who's to say that this life isn't the purgatory?
Well, it depends on your definition of terms, but
I think I don't know.
Between what? Purgatory between what?
Well, I mean, who's to say that this life that we're living now isn't the eternal damnation that they talk about? How do we know that we're not already eternally damned?
Lake of fire. I don't know.
Yeah, once again, I think it really depends on how you operationally define your terms about what damned is and eternal, because we do have a specific lifespan. So, not that I'm challenging you, I just don't. I don't necessarily.
Right. I'd rather just believe in reincarnation. That's just me. I believe that we just come back in some other form.
I'd rather just accept that the universe doesn't care about us.
I agree with that.
And I'm not. That's not a nihilistic conclusion. I'm not like, so therefore life doesn't matter. No, life matters because of what I imbue onto it. I have things to look forward to. I have, I don't have a nihilistic perception of the world. Although I am starting to get charmed by moral nihilism. It's a completely different topic. But point being, I'd rather recognize and be mindful and accept the short-term existence that I personally have on this planet, and recognize how insignificant it is.
Okay.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
No. Scott is like.
We'll be here for 4 hours.
I know. Everything that you are doing is trying to move on, and I totally appreciate that. But, because what you just said, I would rather accept, that this is the way it is and all that kind of stuff. And we had a conversation in one of the early episodes about believing in a higher power and an afterlife and, living forever, in the afterlife and all that kind of stuff. do you think that, I mean, let's say that somehow we were able to prove the existence of God and we knew that there was going to be an afterlife, do you think that that would be a much, I guess, nicer or more easing thought to have? Like, as a belief system, or like, I'm not phrasing this very well, but like, it took me a long time to, I guess, kind of come to terms and like be okay and accepting of the fact that there is nothing else. Like,
Okay.
when when you're a younger kid and you grew up believing in this existence of somebody, and then, as you said, hit the age of reason and then grew out of that, to have that sort of security blanket of, oh, well, no matter what, I'm going to live forever. And then you go to this side of, well, there really is nothing, and my life is going to end, and the universe is going to, end eventually, all that kind of stuff. That's not a very settling thought.
I think it's wonderfully settling.
Okay.
I mean, it depends on what your goals are. I wouldn't wish upon anybody eternal life, pre or post death. I don't want to live forever. I'm 44 years old. I can't imagine living another 44 years. Like, that blows my mind. That doesn't mean that I don't have things to look forward to for the amount of life that I have. It just means that I don't want to live. I hear people talking about wanting to live to be 100. I see commercials about youth remedies of how to look. I don't care. I have gray hair. I don't do anything to upkeep the way that I look other than to get my hair cut and shower. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to live forever. I don't want to be youthful. I don't want any of that. And that's a goal of mine. I know that other people have different goals, and that's fine and well. But I think that it is absolutely satisfying knowing that, because this is the only time around the merry-go-round, because life is finite, I need to make the most of now, instead of hoping that after I die, I get rewards and live a less quality of life. Maximal quality of life is my goal. And I have very specific ways that I think that occurs. And that is completely based on the fact that I don't think that anything is going to happen after I die, and that there is no reincarnation, and there is no eternal life, and there is no punishment. It is the relationships that you make. The only afterlife that exists is the memory that you have put forth in the minds of people who live beyond you. To me, that is meaning.
Sure.
And I think that the brevity of life that I have on this planet informs that. It motivates that. It incentivizes me to engage in behaviors to be the best person that I can. Or at least a better person than I was yesterday. So, I don't think that it's a negative thing.
No, and I wasn't trying to imply that looking at it that way is a negative thing. I just...
Maybe I misinterpreted the phraseology that you used.
Yeah, that's why I said I wasn't really saying it really well. But a lot of people that I have known... let me put it this way. The majority of atheists that I know were at one point religious, mostly Christian, in one flavor or another. And, one of the things that I've talked about with a good number of people is that the idea in and of itself of nothing after this versus the idea of something after this, just taking those two ideas, for most people, it's a lot scarier to think that there's nothing after this. Even if it's what you truly believe, which it's what I truly believe, to me, and it's so interesting to hear you talk about how it's actually, like, calming for you, like like you look at that in in a positive light. And I'm not saying I look at it in a negative light, but it's just for me, it would be a lot easier and a lot more calming to believe or in my head know that there's going to be something after this. I mean, whether that's eternal or whether that's just for another lifetime span or whatever it might happen to be, versus, okay, someday something's going to happen. You're going to be hit by a bus, you're going to get cancer, you're going to die of old age, whatever it is, and then there's nothing. When you just take those two at face value and you look at them, for most people, it's a lot more comforting to have that idea of something else afterwards. Does that make a little more sense in what I'm saying? I'm not saying that... yes. I'm not saying that one is right and one is wrong. I was just kind of offering that up as far as... I think that for a lot of people, it's easier to believe that something exists. And it's a lot more calming and...
So I agree. Am I breaking up at all? Is my bandwidth preventing anything?
Nope, you are
No.
fine.
Okay, very good. It must be on my end.
Your HD.
Everything got very Minecraft and pixelated for me.
Yeah, you're good.
I heard everything that you said, though. But before I responded, I wanted to make sure that there weren't going to be problems.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree that it is more psychologically satisfying, but that's the point of critical thinking. The first step in critical thinking is understanding what the boundaries of your ability to think, what you can understand, and what the limitations of you as a human being can understand based on sense, perception, and reason. And an eternal afterlife where your only goal is to praise a God that apparently made you is weird. Okay?
Yeah.
Or the consequence of being punished eternally for decisions that you made in comparatively a blink of an eye in the existence of the planet on which you live is also weird. This is where the critical thinking component comes in. Does this mean that they don't exist? No. It's possible that an afterlife exists. I just, once again, think that I'm reasonably certain that it's improbable that they exist. So I think that and this is Chris Maute's judgmentalness coming out. I think it's childish to gain psychological satisfaction in the rewards or punishments of an afterlife that dictate your performance and behaviors and thought processes in your current life. And once again, and what is the difference between the two? Critical thinking.
Absolutely. No, and I totally agree with all of those points, and it was just...
But I'm not disagreeing with you, by the way. Yes, the answer is yes. Yes, it is more psychologically satisfying to have a quick and simple answer to things that are complex. That's how our brains work.
I'm sorry. Did that cough come through?
Absolutely, it did.
Super duper loud.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. I hit mute on my mixer, and it was muted here, and I saw you jump and then shake your head. I'm very, very sorry. I did not mean to do that. I hit mute on the mixer.
Hit mute the little blue microphone button. Hit that.
I wasn't sure if that, because then I could hear myself cough, and I wasn't sure. Well, I'll just do it universally and just mute the mic. So again, my apologies to even the viewers as well.
All right, moving on. Let's.
I forgot now. No, I'm just kidding.
I think my favorite dynamic about the three of you is every time Scott wants to move things along, you totally prevent him. And when he's trying to make a point, you're like, moving on. So, totally dismissive. So
yeah,
fun.
Chris, get used to it as my replacement. They're going to do the same crap to you.
No, I'm so much better than they won't.
Mute your mic, damn it.
So
Okay.
wait, before we move on,
Oh, come on. Seriously?
Chris didn't see the end of last week's episode when you said, we're just three friends. And I said, 3 friends? Where'd you get that from? It's 2 friends and Scott.
Well, that kind of reflects. After I did do the recording, I was like, "Gentlemen and Scott," and then I.
Butt of the joke.
All right, now we
Sorry.
can move on.
Okay. Yeah, our first guest that we had was a Christian radio host named Paul Ridgeway out of Minneapolis. And that's kind of how this, we've said it many times in episodes prior, this is how this show was kind of birthed, by listening to him and having an email group, and we'd all email back and forth of things that bugged us and topics and stuff like that. And it got really, 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 really heated at times. Recently, I still listen to him on my way home, and it was Valentine's Day week, and he was saying, get your girlfriend or wife a car, but don't buy from Hallmark because they promote same-sex marriage, and that's against our beliefs and values. And Chris, you know me, don't wait for it, gets better.
All right.
They don't support our beliefs and values at all, is what he said. And you know me being, I have to say something because it's on my mind. And I went to Hallmark.com. There's a whole religious page. And I put an email. Make sure you do your homework before you spout things off on air, because here's a whole religious page. If you want to talk equality, let's talk Hallmark then, because that's pretty broad as far as equality. And then Jerry chimed in with something, and I don't have the email on my page.
I asked if he would be upset at that point if Hallmark discontinued selling anything that mentioned God or religion. Because if he feels that they don't deserve his money, he's not going to shop there. So why would they have to cater to that crowd?
So what leads to the question then, when we're talking about bad Christians, because some Christians, their belief is so strong, and I respect it, but it can be manifested in bigotry.
Sure.
Your thoughts?
All right. So, for me, if somebody's going to follow through with convictions that they have, they're sovereign enough to do so. That doesn't mean that there aren't consequences for it. And the tides of American culture, at least, are moving in such a way that the kind of bigotry that was accepted even 50 years ago is being kind of eschewed and being made to look as petty and the wrong side of history as it is. If that's the choice that you want to make, I don't think that my particular angle is persuasive enough to persuade you out of it. I want you to do what you want to do, understanding that there are consequences for all behaviors. I don't necessarily see that as bad Christianity. And I know that sounds weird coming from an atheist. I think it might be good Christianity from a Christian perspective. I think that the worst kind of Christianity are people who have those bigoted ideas but aren't able to back it up with a justification that they are warranted beliefs within their own belief system. I have a feeling that the dude that you're talking about, the radio host, could probably wax theologically for hours about why he thinks the way that he does about that particular topic. And I don't know him. I don't listen to him. I don't think that he's available on stations out here in Jersey. And even if he was, I don't think that I'd listen to him, just for laughs. But you kind of have to, you have to separate the ideas that X exists or is objectively wrong. That's one form of discussion. And you have to separate that from the discussion of, I believe that X exists, or I believe that X is objectively wrong. Because once you start talking about beliefs, then we can have a conversation about the justifications for them and whether or not they are warranted within the worldview that you hold. And then, of course, we can have a discussion about the value of worldviews, differing worldviews. I like the latter conversation instead of the former. Is homosexuality objectively wrong? Shut up. Give me a break. I don't even know how to get traction with that conversation. If you have a belief that homosexuality is wrong, okay, well, then let's have a discussion about that. What justifies your beliefs? Okay, so that's what you think? Okay, you're going to put your money where your mouth is, and you're going to invest in businesses that support your conclusions and not give money to businesses that don't support your conclusions, cool, that's consistent. I can appreciate that. I don't agree with it. I don't have to. I can tolerate it without accepting it. So I don't know if that answers your question.
It does, and I do have a little PS because you brought something in the forefront. Same individual,
Okay.
After the big football game that just happened.
Sports ball.
World Cup?
I love it when they kick home runs.
Yeah.
World Cup?
Yes, the one where was like the greatest like mid-range show in the world by the most entertaining band ever. Just kidding.
I'm going to puke in my mouth. I didn't even watch. I purposely didn't watch it because I think Coldplay is the most mealy-mouthed, oatmeal, vanilla,
I'm
horse
joking.
crap. I know.
I
know.
One song by Coldplay that I like. One song.
Well, and that's good because they keep writing that song.
The Scientist. I really like that song. I don't know why, just maybe because I think the video is cool, but I've never liked anything else.
was
other
in a
than
band that covered that song. Anyway,
Scott, is that where you get your writing approach from?
no, Hootie and the Blowfish.
Oh, all their songs are so completely different. I love them.
Yes. I'm joking. Again, people. So what I'm getting at is
Like,
that
we don't get that you're joking, Scott. You don't need to. It's less funny when you have to tell us that you're joking. Realize.
that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to dial down your funny and be the funny one here. So
Do I win the audition yet, guys?
You already won.
let's
Thank
see
you.
if you interrupt me
Black
again.
screen and all.
Madonna me.
So around the time where the marriage amendment was passed, Doritos put out the rainbow chips, right?
Yeah, that
Oh,
was
the rainbow chips.
Yep. And that was a big deal for supporting equality, but the evangelicals like Mr. Ridgeway, up in arms, just all up in arms. I'm never buying Doritos again, never buying them again. Cut to the big game Sunday where Frito-Lay airs a commercial where the child can hear the crunching in the womb, which is in his eyes, and I haven't seen the commercial, so I don't know, where it's almost a pro-life thing, right?
kind of.
And then he says, I love Doritos. Go out and buy a bag of Doritos. So you can't have one extreme
I understand.
to ban and then another to buy. We kind of think on that if he could.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's so what you're pointing out is hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And you can go so far with that. We're all inconsistent. So let's just admit that. If we were totally consistent and we believed in the humane treatment of animals, we'd all be vegans and vegetarians, right? So let's just admit that we're not completely consistent. We're a little hypocritical on certain things, but we try to be as least hypocritical as we can. That allows some intellectual integrity to move forward with discussions about why we think what we think. When at the same time, you're telling people not to buy product X for reasons, and then, a little while later, you're encouraging people to buy product X for different reasons.
Right.
That's a little bit different than the kind of inconsistency that we should be able to take on board as being having intellectual integrity. So, this guy seems like I hate the fact that I can't curse. This guy seems like a really not nice person.
He is a very, very nice person. He's kind of has the same personality as our friend who emailed us, what we read earlier.
Yeah.
But a little extreme. Because I'm going to send this show to them for them to view, but I will say delusional at times, because when SNL did the skit of Obama kicking down the door, he went on the radio claiming to all his listeners that Obama's got a temper. I'm like, no, that was fake. I don't know if it was SNL, but
It was a fake video of Obama kicking
a door.
I understand, but I also I would like to take you to task about the word delusional. Delusional is a word that is used in clinical circumstances. I prefer the word deluded. We're all deluded about certain things to a certain extent. To say that we're delusional almost puts a clinical patina on how you're judging somebody, and I prefer not to use that word.
I
I'm not saying
apologize.
that. I'm not saying that you have to take on my standards, but when you broach when you go against those boundaries that I just put forth, I'm going to bust your chops every time.
Well,
Good, he
you're
needs it.
auditioning from my spot, so what do I care?
The reason, the consistency that you were talking about, Chris, is I have to stay consistent. It's just a personal thing for me. This is why I have not, even though the food and the sandwiches are so darn tasty, I have not bought anything from Chick-fil-A in 7 years.
I knew that's where you were going.
Popeyes is so much better.
Popeyes is amazing, but I do, like, every once in a while, I just know there's not derailing. We were talking about something, Scott.
Yeah,
So
talking about
shut
putting
your
your money
pie
where
hole.
the topic is putting your money where your mouth is in the sake of consistency.
Right.
Okay.
And I knew before, like a year before that whole thing happened with Chick-fil-A, when they were saying that they gave money to the National Organization for Marriage, or, whatever it was, I knew beforehand that they're supporting anti-gay groups. And I'm sorry, I'm not giving my money as a gay man to a company that's going to take it and give it to a group that does not have my interest in mind.
Well, and here's another example. So Barilla Pasta, right? The founder or the CEO of Barilla Pasta, whose name I don't remember, but his last name is Barilla, he made some anti-homosexual claims, and not surprisingly, all of a sudden his pasta was like 80 cents per pound, where all the other pastas were like 90 cents or $1.10 or whatever. I refuse to buy it for the very reason that you're talking about. Like, F him. I really hate the fact that I can't curse him. Oh, F him.
Get
Like,
used
I'm not
to it after a while.
maybe. No. But why would I buy pasta? Like, his pasta doesn't taste any different than the stuff I'm going to pay another 10 cents a pound for. On top of the fact that it's a bit of a stance. Like, and I'm not totally consistent that way. I don't know what the CEO of every company that I like has to say about the topics I'm interested in, but the fact that such a big deal was made out of, whatever, Giuseppe Barilla, whatever his name is, he made the claims that he did. It was just like, oh, okay, well, F that guy, I'm getting Ronzoni this week, or Mueller's, or store brand, linguine or angel hair. So, I mean, but that kind of brings full circle the whole putting your money where your mouth is, maintaining a certain amount of consistency. But I'll go back to my point. Fetishizing consistency, I think, is a downfall. And I think that we have to admit that we're all inconsistent to a certain extent. That doesn't mean that we're incoherent. It just means that we're inconsistent. And I think that we're all hypocritical to a certain extent. So I'm not going to hold it against this guy that he's hypocritical. The example that you gave does paint a certain picture of dogmatic ideology, which I think is the hallmark of a bad fill-in-the-blank label. It's a bad version of atheism if you're dogmatic about your ideology. It is a bad version of Christianity if you're dogmatic about your ideology. And I think that maybe will be a good stepping stone to getting more into the bad Christian topic.
Yeah. I guess I'm on a theme in my head. So let's talk G-Man for a second. Since we've had past Christian guests, we might as well talk about them, because we've
G-Man.
had such a diverse pool of guests. I almost said cesspool, but I didn't mean to do that.
Jesus.
No, I did not mean to do that. Sorry.
It's coming in waves. How horrible that would have been if you said that.
Yeah, it would have just been awful. Because you know the order. G-Man, I'm not a fan of G-Man lately.
Why?
I watched a video that a future guest of ours, hopefully, unless we ran him off due to some idiot going to see Prince. That's me. Anyway, watched a video of Tim talking about G-Man, and he makes such a good point. G-Man doesn't represent the gospel. He represents G-Man. And everything is a fight. Sure, does he preach the gospel sometimes? Absolutely. But when he's in a room with people, he ain't preaching the gospel. He's having a meltdown, and it's now the G-Man show. There's nothing people can take from it except for laughs and giggles.
Okay.
Again, my opinion, you can take me to task.
I mean, I'm not going to take you to task. I like G-Man. I genuinely do. G-Man and I correspond privately. When I have him as a guest, he is nothing but sincere and respectful. There was a time when I did, the show that I had, Meeting of the Minds. It was originally broadcast on Sundays, but then I extended it to be broadcast on Mondays. G-Man was my co-host for like a couple months, for like 8 weeks in a row. He was my co-host along with another guy named Christian IG. And nothing but respect. Nothing. I can have wonderful conversations with G-Man. I'm not denying what you're saying, where I do think that, and if G-Man is watching it, I'm not afraid to say this right to his face. I do think that G-Man is interested in monetizing his channel and utilizing the YouTube platform as a way of making a living in addition to preaching the gospel. But I do believe that he believes what he's preaching. I don't think it's a gimmick to the point where he is saying things that he doesn't believe and he's not genuine. I think that he's genuine in his belief. I don't think he always makes good points, but that's fine. That's just grist for the mill for further conversations about why he thinks what he thinks. But that's my take on G-Man.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, just the doc dropping thing, and, he's got us blocked because I was in a hangout with him. He claimed that I doc dropped him.
Did you use his name?
I said anymore, and in regular term, anymore. I'm like, it doesn't make sense anymore. And I didn't, that's it. He's like, you're gone, you're done. What a doc drop means, Jerry, is that when you're in a Google Hangout and you give somebody's first and last name.
Or personal information, or their address, or their social security number, or
phone number.
Yeah, a host of other things.
Which is a good segue. I can't wait to get into this segue for phone numbers. Has anyone else got anything?
75309.
Speaking of
777-9311.
Speaking of phone numbers, I'm going to do my best impression. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brett Keane from God TV Radio. Please check out my gaming channel, Games You Love. And if you have an opportunity, please check out my Patreon. There's a lot of neat stuff there for you to choose from and my Amazon account. Let's talk about Brett Keane. Brett Keane went from atheist to Christian, I think back to atheist, and now he's a God believer or something like that. It's a whole mishmash of things, and he's got just this erection for the drunken peasants, for TJ. And what are your thoughts? I mean, when you get people like that who maybe are using the system, because you talked about G-Man who monetizes, and I don't think he does, but you may know more than I do.
And monetizing might not be the right word, because that has a technical meaning. Like when you're on YouTube, you can monetize your channel such that there are commercials and stuff. I might have been using that term incorrectly. And G-Man, if you're watching and I was incorrect, I apologize.
Yeah. So thoughts on Brett Keane? I think he has this is my opinion. I think he has an agenda that's not anything about God.
Okay. As much as I have a good opinion about G-Man, I have just as bad an opinion of Brett Keane. I think Brett Keane is a human Jabba the Hutt, Shamu-like non-human that is so self-serving and crappy in his behavior, thought process, and pattern of behaviors and thought processes that he deserves, really, from me, no more mention than what I just said.
Fair enough. And the reason I said phone numbers, guys, is because he has his phone number on his YouTube videos. and complains that people call and prank him. Well, don't put your phone number on there. You know,
He's not smart.
no, you know, and well, that's. I just wanted your opinion on Mr. One of our favorite, at least my personal favorite guests on the show, who surprised a lot of people, especially the three of us, and I get a lot of crap for this, but I have tons of respect for him. I don't agree with his ideals, but Mr. Rand Campbell,
Okay.
I adore that guy.
And that's why they call me the champ.
Right.
Well.
Yeah, and I just keeps going back to Jerry's beginning of the episode. Get him on, get him off, and at the end we're like, this guy was fantastic. What are your thoughts on? I think he's for real. I think the guy, he's lived his life, and when he got saved, I don't think he's lying at all, as other people suspect he is. I think this is what happened. This is how he got saved. Go ahead. I mean, what do you think?
So, Rancam. Rancam is being truthful when he talks about his history, and I don't know how much of his history you talked about on your show. There is a book. There's a book that I have. I bought the book on Amazon.
It's out?
Oh yeah, The Tragic Life of Maggie Mc.
Oh yeah. Okay, the one he has not read that book. That's his mom wrote that, right?
His mom co-authored that, and there are pictures of him. Here's my little Randy Campbell.
Yeah.
Right, and like it's Rand Campbell as an infant and as a teenager and as a young 20-year-old. Like it's his mom. There's no doubting it, and there's also no doubting that he lived that life. Now, I think that Rand Campbell is. I can't say that I dislike him, but I think that he's working the system. Okay, he reminds me of relatives. I'm Italian American from Jersey, and my mom is the second oldest of 9 kids. I have an uncle who behaves very similarly to Rancam in the way that he's just able to be quick-witted about insults and shut somebody down, even if the person has a really good point. Okay, that's how I see Rancam. I also think that he's particularly dishonest because he's been shown to say in public that he's a con man, that he's not a Christian, that he is doing this pretty much for fun and laughs. And for me, he's more of a, and I hate the fact that I can't curse one more time, he's a crap stirrer. He purposely says things to get people riled up. So for instance, oh, kitty cat. So, for instance, he knows that I live with my family. There was like a period of a couple of weeks where he would be like, well, there's Chris Maute. How's it feel to be tucked in by your mom? And, just like, stupid things that he thinks are actually insulting to me, not realizing that, the fact that I have such a close-knit family and they're facilitating my ability to recoup money based on a divorce, life circumstances, and stuff like that. And by the way, I don't deny that I live with my family. As a 44-year-old man, I don't think that that's a horrible thing. And if you think that it is a horrible thing to make fun of me with, go ahead. Like, I accept that you think that. Or, more appropriately, I accept that you think that because you're a piece of crap.
Yeah.
That being said, I interviewed him, and he was super nice to me, and he got it, right? I got him. I see where he's coming from, but he's volatile, and that level of volatility is not something that I would gravitate towards in somebody in a real life situation. In fact, in real life circles, I try to stay away from people that are volatile. And let me explain what I mean by volatile. Volatile for me means not knowing whether they're going to be hot or cold that day. And when they're hot, they're really nice to you. And when they're cold, they are just absolutely doing their best to troll the crap out of you. That kind of weird emotional instability is telling. It's a red flag for me. And Rand Campbell sets off all of those clinical red flags in me.
Does he
Once
get
it-
your emotions riled up, you think?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't because I get where he's coming from. Like I said, he can attempt. I think that he thinks that he does, but what he doesn't realize, like when he tries to troll me, I troll him back, like, "Oh, thanks for watching the video, Ran." You know, like
Oh, sure.
totally not addressing all of the insults that he lays out, and then he just has another 3 paragraphs of insults, and I'm like, "Ha ha ha! You're such a great guy, Ran." And then 3 more paragraphs of insults, and I'm like, "Oh, Rand, why are you doing this to us? We had such a good thing going." And then he's like, "Oh, I got out of you exactly what I wanted." And it's like, no, you didn't. When people look at you, they don't see a mountain; they see cake.
That's one way to look at it. Tyler and Jerry, do you guys have anything real quick?
No,
Okay.
no.
Before I move on.
A man of many words.
I'm
because
just yeah.
I love how you're just running down our guest list.
it just came to me. I'm like, well, might as well do that because then it's actually kind of structured. Rand is saying, again, it could be just satire. It could be exactly what you're talking about, trolling. Believes in the flat earth, believes that we didn't go to the moon, which is brings me to a thorn in my side. I don't know why, but it just does. He got me riled up again today because he brought up my spouse in a conversation. And me and Jerry are a lot alike. Don't talk about our spouses when it has nothing to do with the conversation. Don't even breathe her name or even say, "Does your wife know?" This is MG42 pillbox.
Okay.
A
What were
thorn
you
in
talking to
my.
him about?
Because he puts stuff on our wall all the time, like, "Hey, the Earth, you see a curve on our wall, on our Earth, whatever." What do you think of that guy? Is he in it for the lulz? I talked to a couple of friends last night who Ken Jones and Neo Cloud, and Neo were having a little after chat about it, and Neo thinks he's for real. But Chris, you've dealt with it, I'm sure.
I've not only dealt with them. I'm really all over the place on these people. I love G-Man. Brett Keane's not really worth mentioning. Rand Cam I have very specific opinions about because he self-admits as being a con man. MG42 Pillbox, I love having conversations with him. He is nothing but respectful in conversations with me. He busts my chops, but then when I bust his back, he laughs. We both laugh, and we have a good conversation. I know that the kinds of conversations he has with me aren't the typical kinds of conversations he has. Once again, remember in the Lost episode, I was kind of lamenting what a bad atheist is and how I got flack from having conversations with Arcane Logos, Rand Campbell, Pillbox, like all of these people that you're bringing up. G-Man, like I get along with a lot of these people, but their behavior outside of conversations with me have generated enemies that are atheists, and those atheists think that I should hold their feet to the fire. And Scott, this is where your logic comes in, which is like, well, when you have a show and you have them as a guest, you can ask them what you want and hold their feet to whatever fire you want. I, on the other hand, have a different approach. And if you think for a hot second that I'm going to live my life based on your rules, there is a whole mountain of penises that you can climb with your mouth.
Okay.
Am I going to be bleeped because I said
Where
that?
is that? Because I'd like to see that.
It's in my pants.
All right. I just wanted to, because
bet.
I don't know. I don't know why he's a thorn on my side, but he knows he is, and I think that's why he enjoys.
Because you let him. I think.
Yeah.
I think because I don't let these people bother me.
Yeah.
They see that I don't take myself seriously, and we're able to have fun. Scott, I'm not saying that you take yourself too seriously, Scott. But if okay, I'm literally going to bust your chops right now.
Go for it.
Chops.
I'm
God,
willing to it the less I have to, and I'm getting exhausted, so.
I'm sorry. If you let other people's words bother you, there's something about that topic or yourself that you're taking too seriously. You just can't. They're just words from people that don't matter. The only way that something when somebody who you don't care about says something that hurts your ego, you're over empowering their opinion. Nobody has that power unless you give it to them.
Good point. Good point.
So that's the only. I don't know what that is. Words of wisdom.
No, I appreciate it
I don't
very
know.
much. Yeah, no. Finally, Matt Slick, who
Yeah.
is a friend of mine. I'm happy to call him a friend. You know,
That makes
Tyler and Jerry have their opinions on him, and that's fine. You know, I like Matt too. I think that he's the real deal. But do you think he has fun? Do you think he trolls in a way with the big words like gymnasium? Because that's a big word.
Photosynthesis.
Yes.
So, he admits. I mean, publicly.
Chris was funny. Scott's wasn't.
I'll cough again.
He admits publicly that depending on who he's talking to, he changes his strategy. He is very socially savvy, Matt, and he is intelligent. I mean, the way that he's able to memorize what he has to say and rhetorically get people on their heels is to be appreciated. He's never tried that with me. I think because of, like I try to disarm him with like conversations about things that have nothing to do with religion. I think that Matt Slick is a good person. I don't agree with his points, nor do I agree with his techniques, but they haven't been used against me, so I really don't have much to say about that. I've been in several Bible Thumping Wingnut shows. Bible Thumping Wingnut is how I broke into the scene, so to speak. Len, Matthew 4:19.
Just hung out with him the other night.
Good guy.
Great guy.
I think he's funny. And he knows so much about rock, like classic rock music.
Yep.
Love having conversations with him about whether Sammy Hagar or Van Hagar or Van Halen, right? All best conversations I've ever had. He's literally how I broke onto the scene, so to speak, because he posted a video telling me why I shouldn't be a Christian. I responded. He invited me to a hangout where there was like Steve Shives and Bionic Dance and Robin Dupree and like all these kind of heavies. And they started piling on him. And I was just like, hey guys, let him finish his sentence, whatever. And then afterwards, Tim did a post show where he invited me because I was respectful to Len. And the next thing you know, I'm like, trying to find avenues to have a show, Meeting of the Minds, that is about disagreeing with people without being disagreeable. So I hold Tim and Len close to my heart because they've always been nice to me. That being said, the fact that Matt Slick is on the Bible Thumping show, I'm on there all the time. And I don't want to discount Andrew Rappaport. Andrew Rappaport he lives about 40 minutes north of me, and I'm still waiting to have sushi dinner with him. They give me great latitude when I show up on the show. They always have nice things to say to me, about me, to Matt Slick. The conversations I have with Matt are always very civil. There was a time when I was on the show where a really combative atheist was going at Matt about the crappiest arguments, and I started arguing against the atheist. And I think that Matt was like, what's this guy doing? Like, that's my job. I'm supposed to be arguing this guy. But, so
with Matt's knowledge, and we forgot to do this to the other guests, we don't necessarily have to because the title of this episode is going to be Bad Christians. Mm-hmm. The way that he kind of uses other people as quote-unquote target practice is, him and I have had that conversation. It's kind of a joke. Does that make him a good Christian or a bad Christian? Or does it just make him, I want to make sure that since I'm going to go on debates, I want to make sure that I'm prepared at every single angle. I still have my faith, but...
Okay. I think I brought this up in the Lost episode. There is something about Christianity where you are bound to proselytize. You are bound to persuade. That is a a dictate that is not within atheism. And that's why I don't consider myself an atheist activist. At the strongest, I might be an atheist advocate. But within Christianity, you are pretty much told to proselytize. So any attempt to proselytize and engage in apologetics is a good Christian. The fact that I don't like it doesn't make them bad Christians. What makes them bad Christians is when they use crappy apologetics, is when they allow their dogmatic ideology to prevent actual discussion, or prevents them from using genuine apologetics, right? So, for instance, Saiten Bruggencate.
Oh, yeah.
He attempts to use logic in a way that it's not meant to, it's pseudo-philosophy.
Do you know that to be true?
Exactly. The answer is I'm reasonably certain.
Yeah.
So, can you guys hear that?
Yeah. I thought I got the answer right again.
Sorry. That's exactly what that means.
Because they dinged right after it said that. You know that to be true? I went, ding.
So when he brings up his pseudo-philosophy, and then you challenge him and challenge him and challenge him with the real philosophy, and then he's just like, I'm just concerned about your soul. I think that's a bad Christianity, because why don't you just start with that? If you started a conversation with, I'm really concerned for you, and I want the best for you, holy cow, I'm engaged now in a way that I wouldn't be if you're like, well, how do you know that?
Right.
It's like, oh, okay. Could you be wrong? Yes. Well, then you've given up knowledge. It's like, okay. In one approach, you're being compassionate and empathic in a way that I can really sink my teeth into. In another approach, you're taking for granted the rhetorical and colloquial honesty and integrity that I'm using by admitting that I could be wrong about things. And you're using it against me. That totally violates my social contract. So when you violate my social contract, you are being a bad Christian.
Fair enough. Jerry, Tyler.
Scott.
Please talk. Because
I'm not a child or a dog. You can't.
No,
just,
I know. I felt like it just.
Jerry, speak.
I haven't had a chance to speak.
Speak, Jerry, now.
Yes.
No, I had plenty of opportunity to talk later. You just started going through your list, and I am enjoying hearing all of these opinions, and I especially enjoy the ones that differ between the two of you. I like hearing that difference there. So,
Salute.
any final thoughts before we wrap up here?
From me, specifically?
Yes, you're a guest.
Yep.
Okay. I think that we should be... We should think about what it is and who we apply the labels of bad and good to, especially when it precedes a label. I don't think that labels have as much value as a desire to understand people on a case-by-case basis. And so, and this isn't me being like, how dare you guys have two shows, one about bad atheists and one about bad Christians? That's not what I'm saying. I think that it's a fun topic to engage in, but at the end of the day, I don't care what you label yourself as, because I'm going to ask you pointed questions about what you believe, and the label that you self-apply or that I would apply to you don't mean anything so long as we can, once again, engage in a social contract of charitability, reciprocity of empathic and compassionate discussion, and attempt to build bridges with each other to forward a discussion, because I want to learn. I not only want to learn about the individual differences that account for what is humanity, but I project onto you that you also want to learn about it. If in the process you need to preach the gospel because that's part of your worldview, that doesn't make you a bad Christian, it makes you a good Christian. It might make you a bad atheist to view that as, oh, well, that's the most insulting thing to say that you're going to pray for me. Get over yourself.
I'll think for you.
Yeah. The less seriously you take yourself in these conversations, the better the conversations will go. And that's one of the reasons why I don't engage in atheist activism. That's why I'm not an anti-theist. And that's why I'm accepting of when theists decide to preach. In fact, when I had theists on my show, I always gave them a little bit time at the end to get the gospel in, knowing that that's their goal. I don't think that's a bad thing. And if that makes me a bad atheist, that mountain of penises that's in my pants, you can climb with your mouth. And, yeah, I'll leave it at that. Climb a mountain of penises with your mouth hole. This week on Positively Godless.
Not yet. Good try, though. Wow.
No, yeah, that's what I'd say. It really comes down to being human. Either you appreciate it or you don't. Either you take yourself seriously or you don't. I don't take myself seriously, and this goes to the point that I was bringing up earlier, Scott. I accept that you think that is my go-to position when people disagree with me. And then I rephrase it. I accept that you think that. And I know that that's condescending because it pretty much says, well, because you don't matter. Because you don't. When it comes to how I believe what I believe, in order to persuade me otherwise, you need to be somebody that matters to me. And random person X telling me that I'm wrong doesn't matter. And maybe it's because I have a too self-inflated of an ego or whatever. But I refuse to let it bother me. This is a hobby. I do this for fun.
Yeah, so it kind of leads into a real quick question to kind of put a bow on this, on bad atheists, bad Christians. When you look at people on the G plus side, my goodness, why do people care so much? I'm calling out you, and I'm calling out you. You know,
well, I brought this up in the Lost episode, and I'll summarize. Let me wet my whistle.
Fair enough.
The Google Plus sphere and the YouTube web are filled with people that are a self-selected, biased group. They are people that want their voices heard or their opinions heard about whatever topic that they express their opinion or voice about. That does not represent population as a whole who self-label the way that they do. I think that people come to that social platform, this social platform, with desire to have their opinion heard. Once again, that is a self-selected group that is not representative of the self-labels that these people use. So, what attracts more attention? A train wreck or a level-headed discussion? Is Charlie Rose more popular than Alex Jones? No. Only amongst people that dig the Charlie Rose technique. But Alex Jones is pretty well, or Glenn Beck, or people that are combative in a certain way. People love to see drama. People love to see a battle of forces, a antagonist and a protagonist. Did I say that right? Whereas like a level-headed, I totally see where you're coming from, so talk more about that. Right? Which is kind of the approach, the approach that I took with Meeting of the Minds, which is why I didn't really have a huge viewership, but I accepted that because I was doing what I wanted. So even if a dozen people watched my shows, those were a dozen people that hopefully were picking up what I was throwing down. They were smelling what I was selling. You like that one?
I do like that one.
But I think that the reason why people like drama online is because people like drama, period. People love watching a train wreck. They know it's going to end horribly, but they can't stop watching.
And that's why people can't stop watching our show.
Because of you, who I'm
Right.
replacing.
Right. Well,
The constant train wreck that is Scott Lawrence.
You just doc dropped him.
yes, you did. And I'm going to DMCA your
Except he
butt,
uses
too.
his real name.
You don't know that, Jerry.
Everybody, Scott's personal phone number is...
Good night, everybody.
Thank you for watching Positively Godless. Look at the links below or in the screen or wherever they are. And talk to us. Bye. Stupid.
What?
That was awful.
It's still recording.
You don't know that, Jerry.
Everybody, Scott's personal phone number is...
Good night, everybody.
1-800-SEXY-TIME.
That's not his phone number, trust me.
I've dialed that number.
763. 6. Actually, I actually gave my real number out.
Did you really?
We were done, right?
Good night, everybody.
Oh.
This week on Positively Godless.
He docks himself. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Positively Godless. I'm one of your three co-hosts. Actually, two. Scott Lawrence by Charlie. Yep.
Well, bro,
There's your...
please don't let it stress you out. You know what I mean?
I may not have to be able to walk.
Oh,
Bad joke.
Wow.
It's horrible. Stop it.
Wow.
Stop.
That's racist.
That's
How would that...
so racist.
You are a sexist, racist, misogynist.
You misogynist pig.
Check your hetero, white, male, cis privilege.
Oh, I better
You
go.
can't say that. I'm the only one that can say that.
You shut your filthy mouth.
Okay.
Fake.
Oh,
also, the update.
All right, gang.
All right.
On.
Thanks again, Chris.
Without a doubt.
Thank you, Chris, very much.
Anytime. Yes. Anytime. I'd love to contribute to your show as often as you will have me.
Awesome. Love to
We'll
hear
see,
it.
I
Next time
guess.
you have to be naked.
Oh, God.
I have no pants on. Does that count?
I'm hanging up on all you, so goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.